Today I'm going to give you a full cruise review of the NCL Bliss to Alaska, including the good, the bad, and the entitled, because some of these people were out of control. If you're a subscriber, you know I'm always going to give you the bottom line up front, and this trip was overall absolutely fantastic, despite the fact that some people seriously behaved like they were raised by wolves. And I'll give you some tips so that you can avoid that completely. And I also want to mention that this review does not apply to the newer Prima class ships, including the Prima, the Viva, and the Aqua, which will all be coming soon. Those are a completely different design from the Breakaway Plus class. And I'll be posting a pretty sad update regarding that Prima cruise I've been talking about for so long. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. We took the NCL Bliss to Alaska in August, and pro tip, August is the best time to visit Alaska, according to my mom who actually lived there way back when. The weather is the best, and the whale viewing is intense. And I'll even tell you how to see whales without paying for one of those $200 a person whale watching cruises. Ditto for dolphins and even seals. But first, let's talk about the ship. The NCL Bliss is in the same class as the NCL Escape, Joy, and Encore. So if you've ever cruised on one of those, you'll feel right at home. Actually, even if you only sailed on a Breakaway class ship, not a Breakaway Plus, you'll feel at home because the design is even pretty similar overall. They just each have different bells and whistles. The Bliss was the first cruise ship to have its own go-kart track, which is pretty cool, even though I'm going to give you a little heads up that they shut it down a lot during the bad weather to keep all of us safe. So my recommendation is to take advantage of this on a nice day, because you might miss out completely if you don't. This go-kart track isn't as long as the ones on the newer ships like the Prima, but I didn't mind at all. One side note, if you have a kid who doesn't do well in intense environments, this will not be a good fit. It's very loud, and the other people on the track can sometimes get ridiculously competitive to the point where I started thinking they didn't understand the difference between go-karts and bumper cars. And unfortunately, the NCL crew members didn't seem to see the bad behavior or just didn't do anything to stop this. So I saw a couple younger kids kind of getting borderline harassed by some nasty older kids. And one was bumped so many times that he was crying at the end, and that kind of took away from the fun factor. I did report it, but the crew didn't do anything. I think these situations are really hard on the crew because what are they gonna do? Throw someone off the ship? And if they didn't see what was happening, it's not like they can do much. So no fault of the crew at all. Whenever you get a large amount of people together, some are going to act like they were raised by wolves. Still, keep it in mind, if your kids are a little on the meeker side, maybe ride on the go-karts with them so that you can keep an eye on the situation. The food was great, as it always is on NCL ships. Honestly, I think NCL has the best food. Have you eaten better on a ship? Tell me where in the comments below, because I'd love to know. The Bliss also has 2 water slides, and what I liked is that one is a more intense experience, the kind that literally has the floor dropping out from underneath you, while the other is slower, and even my mom liked this one. And on that topic, let me say right off the bat that the Bliss has something for your entire family. I know I'm a teen and I'm not supposed to enjoy vacationing with my family at this point in my life, but on this trip, I totally did. Because there are things for every age range, and when you get sick of each other, you've got places to retreat to. One reason we booked NCL rather than Royal Caribbean for this trip is because people are always saying that NCL ship designs really let you experience the views better than Royal Caribbean's designs generally do. There are a ton of viewing areas, both indoor and outdoor, and even many of the restaurants to take advantage of the views. You really want a ship like this when you're in Alaska because there is something to see all the time, even when you are sailing. In fact, the views are so incredible that you'll experience FOMO every time you do anything at an inside venue because you'll worry you're missing out on something spectacular. That said, you don't want to miss the shows on the NCL Bliss or any of the newer NCL ships because they are really Broadway caliber and I've seen shows on Broadway, so I could say this with some confidence. Now let's get to one of the bad things you'll see on this ship, and as usual, it really has nothing to do with the ship itself, but rather a small number of cruisers who bring entitlement to a whole new level. Even with all the incredible viewing areas, it was very hard to get a seat near a window because people would get up early in the morning and park some of their belongings on chairs and then leave them there all day long so that they can claim their spot without actually being there. I was lucky because we booked a balcony room, so this didn't affect me as much. But I felt so badly for the people who had interior rooms, because if they didn't get up early and participate in the same bad behavior, then it was hard for them to sit by a window. Look, I don't mind people doing this for shorter periods of time because sometimes you need to step away from your seat to get some food or drinks to go to the restroom, and you don't want to lose your seat in the meantime. But we'd see people leaving their things there all day long, and that just ruins the fun for other people. So if this will agitate you, I'd highly recommend getting a balcony room because it will save you some stress. Overall, the NCL Bliss was a perfect fit for my family on this cruise. It is a big ship with plenty of things to do, but I never felt lost on it the way that I do on some ships. It's really easy to get around, and as always, the crew were absolutely spectacular. In fact, the only thing more spectacular was Alaska itself. And this is the big takeaway I want you to get from this vlog. If I had to choose one cruising destination, it would be Alaska every time. That's because the adventure doesn't start when you're at the port. You will see things from on board the ship like dolphins, seals, and tons of whales. In fact, I'd even recommend buying a really good set of binoculars. I'll put the link to the great ones we got for this trip in the description below. You'll also see lots of glaciers. So many, in fact, that my family kind of regretted spending the extra money to do a Mendenhall Glacier shore excursion, especially since it rained like crazy that day, which of course you can't just predict. But on the topic of shore excursions, be sure to budget for some because yes, they can get pricey, but some of them are so worth it. And you'll have the opportunity to do things you simply can't do anywhere else. But here's a pro tip. Be sure to book them long in advance, because the more popular ones book up months in advance. We tried to book a dog sled adventure and also a helicopter ride to a glacier, but they were already booked solid. We did get an incredible float plane ride to Bear Country, and it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. The other pro tip I'll share is that you might want to budget for several shore excursions rather than just one, because they often get canceled due to weather, like one of ours did on this trip. But here's a reminder too, many of the shore excursions that you book through the cruise line are on those big buses. So if you don't like crowds, then you might want to try booking something through a service like Viator. But there are huge risks to that, because if you don't book through the cruise ship, then the ship won't wait for you if there is a delay. We rarely book shore excursions through the cruise line simply because they tend to be at least twice the price. But on this trip, we did because we knew that if the bus got a flat tire, it's not as easy to just call a cab or an Uber in Alaska. So keep that in mind. So that's it. Outside of seeing a dose of entitlement from people staking out window seats and tables, a bullying incident on the go-karts, and the big bus excursion that wasn't quite my favorite, this was a spectacular cruise on a spectacular ship, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. If you can just do one cruise, this is the one I'd recommend without hesitation. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video and please subscribe. Only a small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed, so if you enjoyed this video, please subscribe.